Yo, quick trade recap. I took two trades today, one win and one loss. So let's get into that right quick. So going into today, I was bullish on both assets. Now, why was I bullish? So looking here at NQ on the bigger time frame, I recognize that this looks very much like a market maker buy model, and I think that we should see buy side of the curve here. And I immediately recognized this as soon as I got on the market this morning. And basically, what we've done is with this move lower here, we've swept out this internal sell side liquidity. And once this gets taken out, what does the market do? We get heavy displacement higher with this inversion for value gap here. So when we get displacement back inside of this range, that starts buy side of the curve here, which is this right here. So displacement after the liquidity sweep, displacement back inside the range starts buy side of the curve. We get inversion for value gaps here. If you go to the 8 hours, you can see this obvious bearish imbalance gets closed above. The market displaces through this. And notice we never take out this internal high on NQ, so we are generating internal buy side liquidity. And then the market gets a rebalance lower yesterday. But I cannot talk. When we rebalance, what do? We do a couple of things. So we come to OTE of this price leg here. So notice market comes below equilibrium into OTE, and we also tap this 1 hour untapped fair value gap here, which looks really nice. And I mean, notice this was just left untapped for this entire displacement leg. But then once we fail out to take out this high, so we're generating buy side liquidity here, and then the market rebalances all the way off to OTE, taps this 1 hour beautifully. And when we tap this 1 hour, notice this internal price action here. This is beautiful. This is so textbook. Let me low key move this right quick. Um, so when we tap the 1 hour, we put in the initial low, but then we get internal manipulation, sweep the low. This was late last night. And then what is the reaction of this internal manipulation? Clear and obvious heavy displacement higher, giving us a change in the state of delivery here, and also opening up these bullish imbalances here. And then in the London session, we hold this 1 hour, and then the market just continues to displace higher here. And another thing that I really liked about this that I marked out this morning is as soon as I saw this internal manipulation right here with the change in the state, I marked out standard deviation, which is basically a measurement of the manipulation price leg that sweeps liquidity. You measure from the low to the high, and 2 to 2.5 standard deviation should be in line with the already existent drawn liquidity if you are looking at it in the right way, right? So if I'm viewing this as a buy model, which I am, and like I said, I'm viewing this as a 4 hour market maker buy model, that means I'm bullish, right? So if I'm bullish and I see internal manipulation at this low, so the initial low that gets put in gets swept and then the market displaces, if I measure out this price leg right here from this low to this high, and why do I measure this? Because this is the last move lower. Notice this is not the price leg I'm looking at because this is not the last move that sweeps liquidity. After this low gets taken here, this internal low, this from this high to this low becomes that last low. So if I measure from the low to the high, 2 to 2.5 standard deviation should be in line with the already existent drawn liquidity. And as you can see, that is exactly what's happening here. And notice for the 4 standard deviation is relatively close to the external drawn liquidity on the higher time frame buy model. So these are kind of the things that were giving me my bullish bias going into today, is recognizing these market maker models, recognizing that we have now rebalanced to OTE of this price leg below equilibrium into the 1 hour for value gap, internal manipulation, change in the state of delivery, clear displacement higher, standard deviation is perfectly in line with previous day's high. And then at market open, notice CPI did what? CPI left this clear displacement move higher here, opening up this 15-minute fair value gap. So if I'm bullish going into the day, then all I want to see is this 15-minute hold and then see a move higher from here. So at market open, this first trade I took was not great. And I will be honest, I was unaware of the fact that we actually had this dude yapping right here. So Fed Chairman Warsh, whoever the flip that is, testifies. I was unaware that this was happening. Obviously, I knew that we had CPI. But when we have two major red folder news alerts on one day, I hardly ever trade in between those because this is exactly what happens. In between these two times, the market will do genuinely nothing. I mean, this is like absolutely horrible price action. Once again, I was unaware of that 9 a.m. speech until I had already entered this trade. And I actually ended up closing this trade a little bit early before it hit my full stop because of that. Because initially my stop was at this low, but I manually closed a position right here because I realized we had that Fed chair speech, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to sit in this. So basically, my thought process behind this entry was market opens here, we immediately sell off. Like I said, I'm already I'm obviously bullish towards buy side liquidity. And notice we were also holding this 15-minute imbalance here at market open. There was also a 5-minute imbalance here from CPI. And when I see market open, sell off, and then we get displacement higher here. And there was like a 30-second IFVG, like somewhere down here. And once again, this wasn't really my best entry because I did not wait for this 3-minute inversion. But when I saw this heavy displacement here, I was pretty confident that we were going to at least see this internal high. And I ended up taking my entry where this fill thing is. Like after we got this 30-second inversion, I clicked buy right here. I had my stop at this low here, and I wanted to at least see this high, go break even, and then look to see if we could see a continuation towards data highs. But when I see, like, this is just really not what I expected to see. Like, I expected to see a quick, fast move, but when I saw this, I was like, okay, maybe I'm missing something. Not this right here. When I saw this big candle here, I was like, okay, maybe I'm missing something because 9 times out of 10, in my experience, this trade will at least go to this internal high. So that's when I ended up checking Forex Factory because I remembered that there was a speech, and I was like, okay, wait, this is probably just going to chop around until 9 a.m. because, like I said, the time in between CPI and whatever other red folder news alert, that time will always be choppy. Like in my experience trading, the market's just going to chop around, which is exactly what ended up happening. So I literally just manually closed my position here. I was like, okay, that was a stupid trade. I shouldn't have been in that since we had that 9 a.m. And then market just ends up chopping around this entire time. Now, obviously, not touching anything until 9 a.m. And notice once 9 a.m. comes here, where my cursor is, that's when the efficiency starts to actually come back. So we're doing like genuinely nothing. The market is doing absolutely nothing for a half hour from market open all the way till 9. And then we end up getting a clean manipulation move lower. So when 9 a.m. comes and the Fed speech starts or whatever, I'm pretty much just looking at both assets now, and I'm like, okay, I'm still leaning bullish, but at this point in time, like I was wanting to see this was an SMT for a little bit. So NQ ends up sweeping out. Or sorry, it was this right here. So notice where these cursors line up. ES does not take this low when NQ does. So this was a bullish SMT. So this was the first point that I was looking at potentially longing ES. Now, why was I looking at ES instead of NQ? Because notice NQ is the asset that puts in the lower low in the SMT. So if I'm looking to take a long, I want to trade the more bullish asset, which in this scenario was ES, because ES is the asset that's refusing to take the low at this point in time. So this was an SMT, and I was like, okay, if NQ can start to get bought up here and we get displacement like through this candle closure and start to get up through this 1 minute, then I can look to take a long. Obviously, that doesn't end up happening, and as soon as this SMT here fails and ES starts to sell, then I'm aware of the fact that it's very likely NQ is going to take out the range low. So I mark out the sell side level, and I said, okay, I'm not touching anything until NQ takes this low. Then I can potentially look to take a trade on ES. So NQ ends up sweeping out the low. ES does not. So notice this bullish SMT. ES never takes out the low. And I'm just like, okay, now that we've had clear manipulation here, NQ has swept out internal sell side. Now I can look to potentially see a move higher. So once this low gets taken on NQ, I'm looking, once again, like I said, I was going to trade ES because ES is clearly much more bullish than NQ. And I was looking to see the reaction of this low getting taken on NQ on ES. So looking to see how ES reacted to NQ taking this low. How does ES react? We refuse to go lower here. And wait, one more thing I forgot to mention. NQ was also holding, like both assets were holding these imbalances here. So this right here, notice this 15-minute fair value gap here holds bullish on NQ. So this big sell-off lower becomes a rejection block because we are holding the 15-minute and sweeping out the range low. So the range from CPI, which is this low to this high, that low gets taken, SMT gets put in, NQ is holding the 15-minute fair value gap. After sweeping the low, this becomes a rejection block, and the reaction of that on ES is clear displacement higher. I mark out this 1 minute bearish fair value gap, and when this gets inverted, that is when I take my long on ES, and I'm targeting internal internal buy side. Now I did not target all the way to CPI highs simply because you can't necessarily expect one minute inversion all the way down here to bring us all the way to data highs. Like if I think that we're going all the way here, what do I need to see? I need to see clear and obvious displacement higher on the bigger time frame, which would be like this. Like this 5-minute fair value gap is maybe somewhere that you could have looked to take a long. But obviously, this is way too late for me, and this is the most efficient move of the day, hands down. Like once this happens, I have no interest in looking at anything else. So that is why I was only targeting internal buy side. And obviously, and on top of that, what is this right here? This is a very obvious internal market maker buy model with sell side of the curve selling off into a key level. The key level is this low, and the SMT. Notice ES this entire time is holding the 15-minute bullish fair value gap from CPI. So this big bullish imbalance here is continuously holding bullish on ES, and we get the internal manipulation here with turtle soup, SMT at the low. Reaction of that is the 1 minute inversion. I go long here. And once all of this happens, I'm confident that we're going here. I don't necessarily know for sure that we're going here. I don't really care. If we go here, I'm just taking the low-hanging fruit. I'm taking what's obvious to me, which is the internal high left after the market opened, which is this here. And yeah, that was today's trade. Today's trades, like I said, this first trade on NQ was pretty bad anyways, and I wouldn't have even taken it had I been aware of the fact that we had a 9 a.m. speech, but that was my bad. I should have checked this morning. But I knew that we had CPI. I just forgot that there was something after. And yeah, market just absolutely chops around until that 9 a.m. speech comes, and then we get beautiful 9 a.m. open low, manipulate the low, SMT gets put in, NQ displaces higher through the 1 minute, and that's where I take my entry on ES. After that, SMT gets put in, and I'm just looking to see a move higher towards internal buy side, like I said. And on NQ, that equates to us likely taking out these stacked internal highs left after market open, which is exactly what ends up happening. Notice NQ sweeps out these internal highs here, and then market just craps the bed after that because who knows what's going to happen after the objective is taken. So, yeah, that was today's trade. Pretty clean, and see y'all in the next recap.